We're actually number one for lithium in the world. We always, well, for the last 5 or 6 years, we've been number one at exporter of lithium. We're number two, tied with a whole bunch of countries for nickel. We have plenty of cobalt, not all of which leaves the country as a finished product yet, but we do have plenty of cobalt and more manganese than you can poke a stick at. We also have under development graphite, vanadium and high purity alumina. Now, almost all of Australia's, up until very recently, almost all of Australia's exported battery mineral materials went off and got processed in China. And some of us are starting to think, well, maybe we should do something a little bit different. Against it has always been higher capex and opex costs and higher transport costs. Everybody says we can't do that in Australia. It is more expensive to build things here. We do pay people a lot better than in some parts of the world. But I think once you get to a large mechanised operation, all of those things start to fade away. Will we be the cheapest in the world? Probably not. Transport cost-wise, well, we already ship things that contain 6% lithium all the way to China to be processed. I don't think transport costs should stand in our way either. I think what does stand in our way is it's a very different way of doing business. Traditional Australian mining has been dig it up, put it on a ship. If it meets a standard quality, if it's a nickel briquette, if it's smelting grade alumina, if it's coal, if it's iron ore, as long as it hits a certain standard, you can sell it to anybody in the world. It doesn't matter. It's just get it out the door. With the battery business and with high purity chemicals that go into batteries, you've got to know your customer. You've got to work with your customer. Your customer has to trust you. And that's just that little bit, step too far from the old way of doing things. Thankfully, Australian business has tumbled to this. They've really realised that, hang on, we've got to start doing business like this. And we're seeing a lot of companies out there really working hard on this. So this is excellent. There is a real change in Australia. I'm going to use the old, I use this too often, the charge-discharge batteries to describe the state of charge in Australia. We're really great at mining and extractive metallurgy. There's no doubt about that. We're fantastic. We're actually quite good at the very end of this as well, integration of power packs and cells into remote power systems and into machinery and devices. We're good at building packs and devices, small bespoke packs and devices. You won't find us making EV batteries or mass batteries for power tools, but we punch above our weight with battery management systems, etc. The big hole in the middle is the anode and cathode materials and cells. That's sort of unknown territory in Australia, or at least it was until recently. Australian companies are moving to fill the gaps. And I'd like to blame these Future Smart Strategies report that stirred everybody up, but I think there was a lot of activity beforehand. So, for example, I'd like to shout out Future Battery Industries Cooperative Research Centre, who are currently commissioning a pilot plant to make cathode active materials, and that's sort of on my doorstep near where I live. And they're going to be piloting to tens of kilogram scale. I'm looking at Jacques Eckstein down there. He'd probably be able to tell us how many kilograms they're going to make of cathode active materials. Now, there's a consortium of industry involved with this. It's not just a sort of academic exercise, and wouldn't it be nice if we could. It's actually some serious players who can make some serious investment. So I'm really hopeful that we will see in the not too distant future cathode active materials made in Australia. On the anode side, there's any number of companies that are working in the anode space with spheronized purified graphite. If you're working in a company that doesn't have your company's name there, I apologise. It's a rapidly evolving space, and there are a lot more companies interested and moving than I'm currently showing. This is a photograph. I should have put a bigger one on there and just filled the screen with it. That's a machine called a bogger working underground. You've got to have them when you're mining underground at least. Those are really hot both dusty and humid places. There's vibration. It's just really not a nice environment. We're trying to get people from underground, so we're electrifying everything instead of burning diesel on machines like this. So, you know, in Australia there's a real push to electrify everything underground, because not only do you get the diesel burning from underground, get the people from underground, you can also use renewable power that you generate on the surface. Because after all, you're a long way from power stations. You have to import gas or diesel or something to make your electricity. So electrification of our mines is really important to us. And how are we going to do it with batteries that are built for EVs in cold climates? So, you know, we can import EVs, we can import the batteries for EVs, but we can't really import the batteries for these tough situations. And along with those tough situations, we've got remote communities. We've got a lot of Australia is away from the grid. It needs power. Traditionally, diesel generation and gas generation is what we've used. That's expensive, burning fossil fuels, and you know, there's got to be a better way. So with the advent of cheap solar power, we're trying to create regional renewable hubs, and on top of that, you need batteries. And once again, these batteries are in hot, dusty, dry places where there's nobody to actually maintain anything. So things that have to be absolutely bulletproof and Australia-proof. And along that theme, yes, most of us do live in urban situations, but if you fly across any part of Australia, you will see the rooftops are absolutely littered with solar panels, because our government was pretty good at subsidising them for a while. And there's a lot more power in some states generated out away from the power stations than back at the power stations. And so batteries, Australian batteries for hot places and weirdo applications like this are going to be absolutely essential. So I think that there is an opportunity in Australia to grow a battery industry.